Well, that decision, of course, was overturned in July of last year, I understand, after 15 years of restrictions imposed by the intervention of the Howard government under Minister Mal Brough. What are the solutions on the table here? Do they want to return to that sort of intervention, or is there something else that they want to fix it?
Well, a lot of people are saying that is the quickest and simplest immediate fix to this problem. Kieran Gilbert here on Sky News today interviewed Dr John Boffa. He's been a GP here in Alice Springs for more than 20 years. He's been a staunch campaigner for tougher alcohol restrictions, but he was horrified last July when those alcohol bans were lifted. Now he's no conservative. I know a lot of conservatives have also been saying that those bans should never have been lifted, and they're right, but there are people on the other side of politics as well who say that that was really the worst thing you could possibly do. We've heard Marion Scrimgeour, the Labor MP for Lingiari, which takes in the town of Alice Springs, also say that those alcohol bans need to be put back in place as quickly as possible. People on the ground here, Cory, are saying there's been absolute carnage, that it's been catastrophic since those bans were lifted on the 17th of July last year, but the Northern Territory government has been steadfast. It says it won't be changing its decision. It says that those alcohol bans were a race-based policy and that it's not going to change its mind on this issue.
Well, then it's up to the federal government, based on that information, and the Prime Minister needs to get a first-hand look on it. There's calls for him to visit Alice Springs. Is it likely to happen, and is there going to be any benefit when you think the whole thing would be sanitised ahead of his visit? The police would have an increased presence in order to not expose him to the true horrors of what's going on there.
Yeah, well, this all feels a little bit like Groundhog Day to me, Cory, I've got to say. If you turn the clock back 5 years to when a 2-year-old girl was raped in Tennant Creek, 500 kilometres north of Alice Springs here, and there was some national outcry for a short period of time and a lot of pressure put on Malcolm Turnbull, who was the Prime Minister of the day, to visit Tennant Creek and see the issues for himself. Well, eventually he agreed to come to Tennant Creek, but I tell you what, I've never seen Tennant Creek look as clean and as tidy and as sanitised as it did for the 24 hours that Malcolm Turnbull was there back in 2018. So, I mean, if Anthony Albanese is going to come to Alice Springs, perhaps it'd be better if he didn't let anyone know he was coming and he just showed up on a Thursday and Friday night, and then he might get a good look at things for himself. And I think one of the things that would be most confronting to anyone who arrives in Tennant Creek or in Alice Springs is to see those kids wandering the streets at night. This isn't just a crime crisis, Cory. This is a child protection crisis as well. We heard Jacinta Price today say that those children, if there are kids that age who are wandering the streets at night without parental supervision, then they should be removed from their families. Now, that is a controversial view, but it's certainly her view, and it's a view a lot of people here in Alice Springs would probably support.
Yeah, Matt Cunningham, this is a big issue, and hopefully it won't go away from the public eye until it's fixed. Appreciate your work. Keep it up on the ground there in Alice Springs.